The time is just gone 8:32 9:32 a.m. as we continue with the broadcast this morning, and we are taking a look at Joe Biden. We are taking a look at his visit to the Middle East. Now, previously, we know with the United States and the American government under the Trump administration, Jared Kushner, his son-in-law was basically running the entire show for him or on behalf of Donald Trump and his government in the Middle East. But now we see Joe Biden making his first trip to the Middle East. What does this mean for the Middle East? What does it mean for the region? What does it mean for the relationship between the United States of America and the Middle East? And we joined this morning live out of the UK, Director of International Law at Stoke White, based in the UK. We're joined by Hakan Camuz. Brother Hakan, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As always, welcome and wonderful seeing you, wonderful speaking with you.
It's my pleasure. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brother. So good to be invited by you again to your program. How are you?
Yeah. Yes, no, we're doing well. It's winter here in South Africa, a bit cold, but alhamdulillah, we're doing quite well. And
Very good.
obviously, we need to talk about the things that we are talking about. And the visit by Joe Biden to the Middle East, extremely relevant to what we are talking about, considering where the Middle East is right now, looking at the geopolitics of the region. And just before we sift into the detail, just your overall view with regard to Joe Biden and visiting the Middle East. We know that the United States is focused a lot on Ukraine. They are focused on China and also with the US midterm elections under pressure for Joe Biden. But amongst all of this, he is now decided, or he has now decided, that it is time for me to visit the Middle East.
So, he landed, and the first thing he said is, "You don't have to be Jewish to be a Zionist. Ideological bond is bone deep," he said. And this has nothing to do with whoever is the president of the United States. The United States is a protector and a creator of the state of Israel in the Middle East. And it's a country that they will do everything they can within their means, and they have the means, humanly speaking, to protect that country and expand its policies, i.e. Israel's policies in the Middle East, starting with the security policies and other political dynamics. I'm sorry, somebody just called in.
That's fine.
And so this is like a very important partnership, and Israel is very important for the United States of America. So this bond, this relationship is powerful, and whoever becomes a president of the United States, Democrat or Republican, it does not matter. Names does not matter. Even the status that this public party or that party in power means nothing as far as Israel and America's policies in the Middle East concerned. And so you can clearly see, and by the way, he's been to the Middle East several times when he was a senator, when he was a vice president. This is the first time he's coming in as a president. And as you correctly stated, the timing is pretty important. As you know, Israel has been running their own policy of reshaping the Middle East with the support of, including America, external powers like EU and US, etc., to reshape the Middle East in their own vision. And they have good allies in the hands of UAE and Saudi Arabia. Those who are actually running those countries are now very good friends with Israel. And together they're trying to reshape Middle East and its politics in the vision of Israeli policymakers. And America is supporting it. And you can see this by Biden's utterance. He's going to be flying from Tel Aviv to Riyadh directly after he meets with the Israeli leaders. He has to show balance. So he's going to meet up with Mahmoud Abbas, who is as Zionist as the Israelis and as Biden is. He is no different to these people. He's going to get a little bit of money, apparently $200 million. And his son, who runs the cell network, mobile phone, network in occupied territories, West Bank, etc., is going to be given the permission to upgrade it to the 4G. And that's what they're all about, because Abbas and his family are obviously controlling business in Palestine, and they collaborate with Israel and obviously America and do whatever they want them to do. Pardon me. And so his son's going to get an upgraded network so he can make more money. And then they're going to talk about two-state solution. And then Biden's going to fly into Saudi Arabia, which is the real purpose of why he's going to Middle East.
Yes, I think what is very, very important is, when we're coining this phrase Zionist, and sometimes we actually lose sight of the term Zionism because, we always equate it to the Zionist Jews. But we've heard about the term Christian Zionists. We've even heard of the term Arab Zionists. And all of this is actually very, very blatant. And the mere fact that he is flying from Tel Aviv first, making his trip to Israel, and now going to Saudi Arabia, and for a very, very long time now, the radar or the focus has been on Saudi Arabia and looking Israel as a pariah state, but also as an ally to some of these Arab states. And this, I think, is of major concern, although Saudi Arabia hasn't come out openly. But the mere fact that he is visited, and just trying to understand, what is expected from this visit to Saudi Arabia. What is he going to be talking to Mohammed bin Salman about?
Oil, money. Russia is making quite a good money. China is buying Russian oil, gas. They're not really, whatever they're trying with Putin is not really having an effect on. But if Saudi Arabia increases the production of oil, of course, this is going to have an effect on the world market. Even the China, which is now kind of helping Russia and buying their oil and stuff, is going to turn to Saudi Arabia and say, can we buy cheaper oil from you because you're producing more now? So it's a big deal. This visit is important because you see, you can't say big words and then basically just eat them out, which is what Biden is doing. He came out with this blazing into, I'm a Democrat and I'm a human rights defender, etc. But not when it comes to his own citizen, Shireen, working for Al Jazeera, was shot in the head by Israeli soldiers, assassinated. He's an American citizen. He won't talk about that. The fact that one of his citizens being murdered, war crimes committed, killing a journalist, he won't talk about that. But he will talk about him being a human rights defender. The hypocrisy of the Western politicians, policymakers, and the Western political values. It is so apparent. I don't even know why we're even talking about it. But we still are. And so he came in with that kind of a ticket of being a human rights defender and said so many things about Mohammed bin Salman. And now they're trying to justify saying, well, he's going to see his dad, really, who obviously, as we all know, is quite ill. But his son will be there. The point is this. Mohammed bin Salman is a key player with a massive support from Israel because Mohammed bin Salman works very closely with them. And Mohammed bin Zayed has been instrumental in orchestrating this whole new relationship with Israel and Arabs, the Abraham Accords, as you know, that's what they're calling it. And they're going to basically try to shape this new generation of leadership that's coming in UAE and Saudi Arabia in vision of Israel. Biden's going to support it. And Biden's going to ask Mohammed bin Salman to open the gates to Israelis and recognize them. And Biden's going to say, increase your oil output, and then we will accept you into the world community. And Mohammed bin Salman, he's already there, is going to kind of accept some form of this, most likely, because he wants to be leading young king of Saudi Arabia, reformer. He has his own vision, and he needs America to bring him into the fold, if you like. And they're going to have some kind of agreement probably already in place, and this is just to kind of show that, the president came together and then they agreed these terms. That's what's going to happen. So it's oil, it's money, it's Russia, but more importantly for Mohammed bin Salman, that he will be embraced by America, and by extension, it will mean by the Western world. And that's why this visit is important for Mohammed bin Salman. And it's also important for President Biden because of what he has to serve in the interest of Israel, which is by interest of USA, of course, but at the same time, in his tackling Russia and Putin, he's seeking support from Saudi regime.
Yes, and also, at the same time, when we are looking at Mohammed bin Salman and damage control as a result of the killing of Jamal Khashoggi, and we know that the United States of America was very, very vociferous in its condemnation of the killing of the journalists, and MBS has been trying to do damage control, and this is one way where establishing a stronger ties with Israel is going to be a condition that the United States of America is going to make on Mohammed bin Salman to gain or to regain some sort of credibility.
I'm thinking about it. Mr. Khashoggi, bless his soul, he used to be a Saudi intelligence operator. He used to be quite high-ranking Saudi intelligence official. Everyone knows this. He's not a journalist. He became a critique, and so Washington Post allowed him to write some articles. So he became kind of journalist from, if you know this way. Shireen was a journalist and an American citizen. So Khashoggi, who just has leave to remain, not a citizen, kind of seeking asylum or protection in America, and then kind of becoming a journalist because Washington Post wants to criticize Mohammed bin Salman, right? And we call him a journalist, and America basically goes, uproar about the killing of Khashoggi, which we understand. But when it comes to Shireen, who is a journalist and an American citizen, because it's Israel, nobody says anything about it. Again, the hypocrisy. I don't know how much more we need to talk about the hypocrisy of these people. But none of these are important because, as you know, last time we had a discussion about how much capitalist we are. We're not even, you see, let's take in the context of what Biden said, landing in Israel and saying you don't have to be a Jewish to be Zionist, right? Very ideological statement. But even that comes secondary to the real ideology that these people operate under. And their only purpose is the advancement and going forth of their capitalist agenda and their new version of their colonialism. And to advance this, they will do whatever it takes. Right now, the conflict in Ukraine is shaping up their policies in the Middle East, if you think about it, because they have to accept Mohammed bin Salman into the fold so that Mohammed bin Salman can increase the production of oil and then Russia can be sabotaged. Because imagine if the oil markets basically go down, even to the cost level, Russia won't be able to make any profit from it. And that's another way of squeezing Russia out of this whole conflict in Ukraine.
Yes, and also just finally looking at what does this actually mean for the greater Muslim world, because Saudi Arabia is now seen as the leader of the Muslim world, and once this relationship strengthens between Israel and Saudi Arabia, just looking at other parts of the Muslim world, even looking at a country like Turkey, looking at Iran, what does this actually? What are some of the consequences?
Um, if this plan sticks, and we don't know this yet, there's a red herring here. Saudi society is made up of these big families, as you know, tribal, and not everybody is really happy about what's going on. We'll see what happens with Mohammed bin Salman becoming king, what kind of a political reshape the state, the Saudi people's society is going to take. We'll see that. And if you go beyond that, then Saudi regime, this new king that will come in, is going to try to reshape this whole Middle East. I mean, you do realize, and you probably hear about it. And if you have friends, I'm sure we all have friends who actually live in Saudi Arabia. Ask this question: how much change is already there? I mean, there used to be signs for an area of haram only for Muslims to be allowed. Even the signs have been taken off. It doesn't exist there anymore. You can see already the effects of it in Saudi Arabia. As for Turkey and Iran, I'll be honest with you. Turkey and Iran are observing what's going on so they can actually adopt policy. Turkey is trying to make peace with many countries in the region. Mohammed bin Salman was in Turkey recently, and Erdogan is quite acting in a very, let's say, realpolitik manner, knowing what's going on, reading the new shape that it is taking place. He's making peace with Saudi and the UAE. You know, all these glorified visits you've probably seen. And Turks are talking to Egyptians about somehow normalizing the relationship. And recently, as you know, there's this attempt, efforts to bring Iran, Russia, Turkey together in Tehran to fix the issue with Syria. Because obviously, right now, the biggest problem is Syria. So, all these countries that you're talking about, how they're going to shape their positions up will define where the Syrian war coming to an end. The Syrian war is a war, a proxy war between Iran, Turkey, and then many other players, as you know. Excuse me. And so we will see what happens with these efforts about ending the Syrian conflict and ending this war in Syria, and then countries will take a position. But with the Saudi and the UAE already carrying the flag of change in the Middle East, I can tell you next year and the year after, the next 2 years, we're going to have massive changes in if it goes this direction in the Middle East and the politics in the Middle East. They already have advanced very much with Israel's agenda in reshaping the Middle East politics. You can see.
Well, we're certainly going to be watching the space, and it's going to be absolutely crucial. Let us see what's the outcome with the Biden visit with Mohammed bin Salman and Saudi Arabia. And but for now, unfortunately, time is of the essence, brother Hakan. Jazakallah shukran for your time. As always, we appreciate it. Assalamu alaikum wa
Pleasure,
rahmatullahi wa
pleasure is all
barakatuh.
mine. Bye bye.
Hakan Camuz joining us this morning. And with that, we're going to go for a break. We come back, we'll be joined by Islamic Relief South Africa.